Welcome back, fellow adventurers, to Wandering Worlds. I'm your host, Brian Best, and tonight we set sail into the whimsical and dangerous world of Sea of Thieves. Our story follows the misadventures of a crew of quirky pirates aboard a galleon called the Plunder of Pretzel. With hearts full of mischief and bellies full of grog, these unlikely buccaneers brave stormy seas, treacherous islands, and more than a few cursed treasures. So sit back, let the waves rock you gently, and join me on this wild and hilarious voyage. The Plunder of Pretzel was a magnificent ship, or so the crew liked to say. With patched sails flapping like tattered flags and a figurehead carved to resemble a vaguely pretzel-shaped kraken, it was unmistakably one of a kind. The galleon was home to 4 of the most peculiar pirates to ever sail the Sea of Thieves. First mate Biscuit, the self-proclaimed strategist, stood at the helm. A wiry man with a perpetually furrowed brow, he always wore a powdered wig he claimed gave him an air of authority, even though it had seen more cannon soot than hair powder. Grogbeard, the ship's quartermaster, was an enormous man with an even bigger appetite for adventure, and of course, grog. His laugh echoed across the waves, often causing nearby birds to flee. Finch, the ship's navigator, was an optimistic dreamer with a penchant for getting lost. His maps were always upside down, but his cheerful demeanor kept the crew from despairing, most of the time. And then there was Patchy Joe, the gunner. Despite his name, he had 2 perfectly good eyes, but he insisted on wearing an eye patch just in case. Joe had an uncanny ability to hit his target, when he wasn't accidentally hitting something else. The crew was gathered on deck as the Plunder of Pretzel cut through the calm, turquoise waters. They had just uncovered a riddle leading to a hidden treasure buried on Smuggler's Bay, a crescent-shaped island known for its treacherous cliffs and occasional skeleton ambushes. As the ship approached the island, Biscuit paced back and forth on the deck, muttering, "Now remember, men, the key to solving riddles is intelligence and strategy." He tapped his wig for emphasis. "We've got this," Finch grinned, holding the map upside down as usual. "Look, Smuggler's Bay is right, here. Haha." "Finch, that's a cloud," Grogbeard said, squinting at the map. "And it's probably behind the cloud," Finch insisted. Patchy Joe, leaning against the cannon, chimed in. "As long as there's treasure at the end, who cares? I'm ready to blast any skeletons that get in our way." He patted the cannon affectionately. Smuggler's Bay loomed ahead, its towering cliffs casting long shadows over the golden sands below. The crew somewhat expertly, lowered the anchor. The ship groaned to a halt, and the pirates scrambled to lower the rowboat. As they rowed toward shore, Biscuit read aloud the riddle. "Where the crescent moon meets the tide, seek the stone where shadows hide. Strike the ground where flowers bloom, and the earth shall reveal the treasurer's tomb." I don't like the sound of shadows hiding," Finch muttered, his cheery tone faltering.
"Nonsense!"
Grogbeard bellowed, slapping Finch on the back.
"Shadows just mean you have company."
Patchy Joe grinned, lifting his blunderbuss. "Let's hope they're friendly company. Otherwise, we'll send them packing." On the island, the crew followed the riddle, through their interpretations of it varied wildly. Finch searched the tide pools, convinced he'd find a clue in the water. Grogbeard climbed a tree, claiming the crescent moon might mean the shape of a branch. Biscuit squinted at the cliffs, trying to appear as though he had everything under control. It was Patchy Joe who finally stumbled upon a large, moss-covered rock that cast a peculiar shadow when the sun hit it just right. Beneath it, a cluster of wildflowers bloomed. "This has to be it," Joe declared, waving the others over. Biscuit inspected the spot, adjusting his wig. "Of course. I knew we'd find it eventually. Start digging, men." As soon as Grogbeard's shovel hit the chest, the ground trembled. The air grew cold and a chilling laugh echoed through the bay. Skeleton pirates emerged from the sands, their glowing eyes fixed on the crew.
Looks like we've got company!
Patchy Joe shouted, already firing his blunderbuss. The crew sprang into action. Grogbeard swung his cutlass, scattering bones with every mighty swing. Finch darted around the battlefield, throwing whatever he could grab. Bananas, coconuts, even his own map. Biscuit directed the chaos from behind a rock, shouting commands that no one heard. Patchy Joe, meanwhile, manned a cannon the crew had hauled ashore earlier, just in case, and unleashed a barrage that sent skeletons flying. Amidst the chaos, Grogbeard hauled the chest out of the hole.
We've got the treasure! Let's go!
The crew made a mad dash for the rowboat, skeletons in pursuit. Finch rowed with a frantic energy that sent the boat spinning in circles until Grogbeard took over. The Plunder of Pretzel came into view, and the crew scrambled aboard, raising the anchor and catching the wind just as the skeletons reached the water's edge. As the ship sailed away, the crew gathered around the chest. Inside they found gold, jewels, and an ornate pretzel-shaped medallion. "Well, lads," Biscuit said, holding up the medallion, "it seems this was meant for us all along." The crew cheered, and Grogbeard raised his tankard.
To the Plunder of Pretzel! The finest ship and crew in the Sea of Thieves.
The galleon sailed into the horizon, the sun setting behind them as they laughed, sang shanties, and planned their next misadventure. From skeleton ambushes to treasure in the sand, the Sea of Thieves offers no shortage of excitement. And for the crew of the Plunder of Pretzel, the real treasure isn't just the gold, it's the camaraderie and chaos of the journey itself. Thanks for joining me on this high seas adventure. Until next time, may your horizons stay wide and your adventures even wider. Sleep well, travelers.